Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about a Solidity programming language which we'll be using to write smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain. Before starting, I would like to quickly introduce myself. I'm Amrisha Kakuti and I'm working as a software engineer at Kpro Solutions Private Limited. Kpro is a leading provider in Datalake, cloud implementations, IoT, blockchain, analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, deep learning, and mobile application development. So without any further ado, let's get started with today's video. So the topics we'll be covering in this video are: what are solid expressions, if else, while loop, for loop, do while loop, break statement, continue statement, and finally the return statement. So let us start with solidity expressions. Solidity expressions refer to a statement that results in a single value, object, or function. The operands involved can be a literal, variable, function invocation, or another expression. Expressions can comprise of multiple operands and operators. Next, let us see what are the comparison operators. So these are the comparison operators in the Solidity programming language. So we have here the equal, not equal, greater than, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to. And these are the examples how we use them. Next, let us see the logical operators. So these are the logical operators, that is and, or, and not, and this is how we use them. Next, let us talk about the if-else statement. If-else is a conditional code execution. So the condition in it evaluates to either true or false. If none of the conditions provided are true, else provides an alternate path. Else also contains a decision control instruction and executes the code. Now let us have a look at an example where we'll be using the if-else statement. So this is a simple example where we'll be using the if-else statement. So here we have a set variable. Then we have two strings where in the string C I have saved even and in D I have said saved odd. So here we have a function to set the value of A. And this function returns if the value set is an even number or an odd number. So if the number is even, it will return even, and if it is odd, it will return odd. So let us quickly deploy the contract and see if it works as promised. So I'll directly set the value of A to an even number, for example 66. Set A. So here we'll click on this and we need to see the output. So just give me a second. Yeah, sorry, we didn't click on this function. So we need to see if the function is, so we need to call this function to see if it is even or odd. So I'll call this function and then it should return as if it is even or odd. So it should return as even. Yes. Right? Next, let me put an odd number. For example, here I'm putting it 67. Set A. Then I'm calling the function. So let us see. It should return as odd. Yes. String is odd. So this is basically where we can use the if-else statement. Next, let me go back to my slides. Now let us talk about the while loop. So while is the keyword in Solidity. It informs the compiler that it contains a decision control instruction. The code inside the curly braces is executed if the condition evaluates to true. The loop will keep running until the condition becomes false. Now let us have a look at an example where we'll be using the while loop. So this is a simple example where we have used the while loop. So we have a state variable which is initialized to 5. Then we have this function where we have a local variable which is initialized to 0, and then here we have the while loop, that is the while condition, that is I is less than 2. If I is less than 2, then these codes inside the braces will be executed. So A will become A plus I, and I will be incremented, and again this loop will run until I is less than 2, and finally we'll return the value of A. So let us manually see what the values of A and I will be, or what the value of A should be get once we deploy the contract. So initially A is 5. So I'll just comment and put the values here. Okay. So initially A is 5. So I0, it is less than 2, condition satisfies, so a equals to a plus I, that it will be 5, 5 plus 0 is 5, and then I will be incremented, that is I will become 1. Next, 1 is less than 2, that is I is less than 2, this condition satisfies, hence this code will be executed, that is 5 plus 1, it will be 6 here, and this will be 2. Now 2 is less than 2, this condition doesn't satisfy, hence this code will not be executed and it will return us the value of a, that is 6. So let me deploy and see if we get 6. Yes. So this is how we can use the while loop. Now let us talk about the for loop. So here for is the keyword. It informs the compiler that there is a set of instructions that need to be iterated. It is similar to while loop, but in for loop all the information can be read in a single line, hence it is more readable. And here the condition execution stops when the condition becomes false. Now let us have a look at an example where we'll be using the for loop. So this is an example where we have used the for loop. So we have a state variable which is initialized to 2. Then we have this function where we have used the for loop, that is for. Here I am using it as a counter. I equals to 0, I is less than 3, I plus plus, a equals to a plus I. And when this condition doesn't satisfy, it will come out of the loop and it will return us the value of a. So first of all, let us manually see what the value of a should be. So initially, I'll just write here. Okay, I'll just write the values of I here and a here. Okay, so initially I is 0. So a equals to a plus I is 2. That is 2 plus 0 is 2. Then I will be incremented to 1. Then this condition satisfies, that is 1 is less than 3. Hence this will be 2 plus 1, it will be 3. Then I will be incremented to 2. Again this condition satisfies here. So this will execute, that is it will be 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. Then I will be incremented to 3. But now this condition doesn't satisfy, hence this will not be executed and it will come out of the loop and it will return us the value of a as 5. So let me deploy and see if it returns us the value of a as 5. Yes, here we have the value of a as 5. So this is how we use the for loop. Now let us talk about the do while loop. So this do while loop is very much similar to while loop. The only difference between while and do while is that do while will execute at least once even if the condition evaluates to be false, whereas in while loop the code doesn't get executed if the condition is false. So we use do while when we want our code to be executed at least once, because in do while the code gets executed before the condition gets evaluated. Now let us have a look at an example where we'll be using the do while loop. There's an example where I have used a do while loop. So we have a state variable which is initialized to 5. Then here we have inside this function we have a local variable which is initialized to 3. And then okay, first of all I'll change it to 0. Then I'll change it to 3 to explain you what I wanted to explain. Okay, so I have here a local variable which is initialized to 0. Then this code will be executed if the value of I is less than 2. So like before, let's manually see what the values would be in the current condition. So initially I is 0. So a equals to a plus I, that is 5 plus 0, it's 5. And here I equals to I plus 1, it will be incremented to 1. Okay. Next we have this 1 is less than 2, the condition satisfies, and again this loop will continue. So it will be 5 plus 1, a will be 6 and I will be 2 here. And now this condition doesn't satisfy. Hence this will not be executed and it will come out of the loop and it will return us the value of a as 6. So let me deploy and see if we get the value of a as 6. Yes. Now let us see if I put the condition that does not satisfy, put the value of I that will not satisfy this condition. Okay, so I'll put the value of I as 3. So now this condition doesn't satisfy, that is 3 is not less than 2. But even if this condition doesn't satisfy, this loop will run at least once. And then the condition will be checked and then it will come out of the loop. Okay, so 3, so 5 plus 3, a plus I, it will be 8. And this 3 will be incremented to 4. And after that, this condition will be checked. So now the condition doesn't satisfy. So this will not be executed and it will come out of the loop and will return us the value of 8. So the code got executed even if the condition didn't satisfy here. So let's see if we get the value of a as 8 in this case. So we need to redeploy the contract. Yes, we have the value of 8. So this is basically all about the do while loop. Next, let us talk about the break statement. So if you want to jump out of the loop in between without executing the rest of the code, we use the break statement. Thus, it passes the control to the first instruction after the loop. So now let's have a look at an example where we'll be using the break statement. So this is an example where we'll be using the break statement. So we have a state variable which is initialized to 5. Then we have this function where we have a for loop, and here we have this condition, and inside the for loop we have a if condition, and inside the if condition we have the break statement. So let us see what this break statement does. Let us see what the value of a should be manually. Okay. So initially we have the value of a as 5 and here we have the for loop, that is I equals to 0. So initially it will be, so initially I is 0. Okay. So here a equals to 5, that is 0 plus 5 is 5. Then this condition will be checked. Is a greater than 7? No. Hence this will not be executed and it will again go back to the loop. I will be incremented to 1. And here it will be 6. Then this condition will be checked. This doesn't satisfy. Again here I will be incremented to 2. This will be 8. Now this condition satisfies, right? That is 8 is greater than 7. Hence the break statement will be executed and it will come out of the loop and will get the value of a as 8. We'll get the value of a as 8. So let me deploy and see if we get the value of a as 8. Yes, we are getting the value of a as 8. So this is basically what the break statement does. Next, let us talk about the continue statement. So in general, the logic of the condition decides the continuity of the loop. But if we want to go back to the first line of the loop while in the process of execution without executing the rest of the loop, we use the continue statement. Now let us have a look at an example where we'll be using the continue statement. So this is a simple example where we have used the continue statement. So we have the state variable which is initialized to 5. Then inside this function we have a for loop, and inside the for loop we have an if statement inside which we have the continue statement. And after that we are changing the value of a to a plus I, and then we are returning the value of a. So let's see manually what the value of a should be in this case. So initially let me just write down the values of I here and the value of a here. Okay, so initially the value of I is 0. So if I equals to 1, that is, this is not true, hence it will not be executed, and this code will be executed, that is a plus I, 5 plus 0, it is 5. Next, I will increment it to 1, and here you can see if I equals to 1, this condition satisfies, hence continue. So hence the rest of the code will not be executed and it will go back to the first line of the loop. So I will be incremented to 2 now, and here then this doesn't satisfy anymore, hence 5 plus 2, it will be 7. Then I will be incremented to 3, 10. Then I will be incremented to 4. Then it will be 14. Then I will be incremented to 5, but this condition doesn't satisfy anymore. Hence the code inside will not be executed, it will come out of the loop and will return us the value of A as 14. So let's deploy and see if we get the value of A as 14. Yes, we are getting the value of A as 14. So this is basically the use of continue statement. Next, let us talk about the return statement. So the return statement returns data. Solidity provides two different syntaxes of returning data. We'll be seeing these two syntaxes in the example that is following. And we use the return keyword to explicitly return from a function. So now let us have a look at an example where we'll be using the return state. So this is the example where we have used a return statement. We have a state variable and we have this function which sets the value of A. Then we have this function which is returning a value of type uint. So here returns, we just need to put the data type and we don't need to put any parameter or any variable here. And in this function we are returning, so in the returns here we have to put the data type as well as the variable, and we are returning in this way. So these are the two syntaxes of returning data. So now let us quickly deploy this contract and see if both these functions return the same value. So first we'll set the value of A as 67, for example, set A, then get A1 should return a 67. Yes. And get A2 should also return a 67. Yes. So this is how we return data using the return statement. Now let's have a quick recap of the topics that we have covered in this video. In the beginning, we talked about solidity expressions, then we talked about comparison operators and logical operators. Then we talked about the if-else statement. Then we talked about while loop, for loop, do while loop, break statement, continue statement, and finally the return statement. Thank you for watching this video. In the next video, that is Introduction to Solidity Part 8, the topics I'll be covering are creating contracts using new keyword, constructors, and contract composition. Kindly provide your valuable feedback at the comment section below and let us know of any topic you want us to make a video of or any issue you might be facing in your project. You may write to us at feedback@kpro.co.in. You can also subscribe to our channel if you want to learn more about technologies like blockchain, cloud, data science, ETL, Datalake, DevOps, big data testing, cloud testing, etc. And you can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Thank you very much. Let's keep learning.